So, hello everyone, welcome back to another Dev Diary. I'm here with Deep Denizens and also Jake from Kwalee. We're going to be talking about the world today and get into the nitty-gritty of Hark The Ghoul. Jake, you want to do a little introduction?
I'm the social media manager on Hark The Ghoul, and I'll pass over to Deep Denizens to all introduce themselves.
I'll go first. I'm Hugues. I'm the game designer working on Hark The Ghoul. I mainly focus my efforts on level design. I do a lot of the writing as well as general game design, balancing, testing, all that stuff. I share most of the game design responsibilities with Samuel.
Yep, that's me. I'm the gameplay developer for Hark The Ghoul, and I also do a lot of game design, mostly focused on the player and their abilities, that kind of stuff.
And I'm Gabriel, and I'm basically in charge of every 2D and 3D art in the project.
Okay, so let's get into it with our first question today, or topic of conversation. So, of course, the world is very atmospheric, and you mention amber. I really want to dive into what it is, how the amber brings this sort of madness to the world, and also creates this atmosphere that we see.
Basically, amber is really the inciting incident that really gets the events of the game rolling. It's what really like unravels the balance of power in the city that the game takes place in. To not go into too much detail, to not ruin the surprise of its origins, I'll say that during the opening hours of the game, you're incentivized to dive beneath the city and uncover where that amber comes from. And by doing that, you'll uncover what's happening to the people of the city around this amber, its origins, and what really goes on around the city's whole predicament, let's say.
That's leaving just a little bit for us to wonder.
Yes.
And wait for.
The game is very gothic and takes it quite seriously. It's in a very serious settings but you also have these quite light-hearted character designs and themes as well, like the pigeons that attack you in the city, for example, or the giant, I don't know his name, but the gut guy, I'm going to shoot him. But yeah, so how do you manage to balance them two from a thematic standpoint?
Actually, the approach we choose for Hark The Ghoul is this is a bleak setting. This is not a bleak world. Like the people you're gonna meet, the interactions you're gonna have, they're not all going to be bleak and dark and saddening. Take a few inspirations from the ambience, for example, in Majora's Mask, where same thing, you have a very bleak settings. Doesn't mean that everything has to be depressing.
It's kind of a through line through the game that even like in very dark times and even in very dark situations, there's kind of levity and joy to be found in life. And I think that kind of runs in the actual fun of the game, where you're like, oh, I wonder what's the next kind of quirky or interesting guy I'm gonna meet here.
And then do you guys have a favorite quirky moment, let's go with, or funny moment that you think contrasts it the most, that you can talk about? That you could talk about.
Yeah, well, I think for instance, a funny one that we've kind of teased at in one of our trailers is the Scat Sage, who's a character that you can find in an area, which I won't mention, but who's like super weird and kind of, you're expecting this world to be like, oh, all nights and dark, dreary, dramatic things, and there's this guy just stirring his soup, right?
I have a question on that, actually. Where do you come up with these ideas of these characters? Are you drawing from stuff, or is this like how you guys are as people? You just like, I don't know, like to do quirky things and then it just comes out of the game?
We always think it's always good for a game to have a bit of character, right? And so one of our big focus, since we are so much focused on like exploring the world and discovering its inhabitants and discovering what's going on, we always try to get characters that are like memorable. When you see them, it feels like a reward in and of itself to learn about them.
I think it really helps that the three of us are good friends, and so we're just like often like just chilling on Discord and we'll be like joking around, and sometimes like a good idea will come from that, and we're like, oh wait, there's something there. Let's just like continue elaborating on it. There's tons of fun gameplay and fun characters, etc., that has come from that.
Even if the idea is pretty weird, we try extra hard to make sure it doesn't like ruin your immersion. Just try to really ground it to the world, and that's also why it's a good boon for us to have a bit of a world with like colorful characters, is that without like feeling like, oh, everyone's big and like serious, and here there's this like weird character that doesn't really fit.
Talking about the characters, what's the inspiration behind the bugs? Why choose bugs?
I really like bugs. I think the idea of bugs came a really long time ago. Like, it might have come from me and Samuel discussing things that were not Hark the Ghoul at the time. I feel like bugs are fascinating, and having a whole cast of characters that are inspired by bug is just that's just for me, right?
Bugs are naturally like weird and interesting, and there's so many different types of bugs that have types of quirks that are unique. It's just so interesting to work with.
Yeah, I think the character Lepidor was like actually the first character we designed for the game, like to begin with. And when Samuel and Gabriel came to me and were like, check this out, what do you think of this character design? I felt like she was really like, she had something about her that was really iconic looking, and that we could like dig deeper on and make a whole bunch of like different characters similar. I think it was really smooth, and it was a good base to build our world around.
And we haven't shown too many of them, right? Those characters, those bug-like characters in the demo and in our trailers, and they're one of the things I'm really excited for people to kind of find as they play the game and maybe fall in love with some of them, hopefully.
So the level design, the world, did you write the story first before you sort of put the level design and the world together, or was it you put the world together and then the story came from that?
I'll answer this one. Basically, when we first started thinking about making a game together, me and Samuel, we really were thinking, we really love how like Dark Souls 1 and like Bloodborne does their level. It always looks back on themselves, and you have this really sense of wonder, at least at the very beginning of Dark Souls 1, when you land in Firelink Shrine and you have like 10 different directions to go to. And so we were trying to think of like a layout that could have the most cool stuff packed together. And so we ended up with this very vertical layout. We also had like a very, very rough idea of what we wanted to do. We wanted to have like this big castle you could see in the distance that would be like your final goal to reach. That was one of the very first things we thought of, and then we just tried to develop it from here. Like, okay, then if you have to dive deep in the underground to find a path, what would be there? Some sewers under the city, or maybe some like dark caves. There's plenty of little surprises you're gonna see. We try to pack as many cool things as closely together as possible, while making them all feel interconnected in an organic way.
Yeah. Just on as well, like the fact that you see the castle early on, it reminds me of those stories where you find out the end of the story at the beginning, but then you're so intrigued to see how it got to that point.
I think we had that structure for the game before we had our first enemy, which really goes to tell how central that world is to the actual experience of playing Hark the Ghoul.
And sort of maybe talking on how you built the world. So in immersive sims, we've got these tools like a harpoon that you can throw against a wall and jump on, the rocks, the magic rocks you can throw, lots of different things like that interact with the world. How did you find when you sculpted the world, knowing that these tools were available to the player?
Yeah, so immersive sims are interesting. We didn't set out to make Hark the Ghoul an immersive sim, but we love the games of the genre. And I wouldn't say even today that Hark the Ghoul is necessarily qualifies. I think it's close to it. It might be a light immersive sim. It's funny because it's kind of a happy accident. When we first started with the gameplay, we made a kick very early that we wanted to work in conjunction with the combat and the exploration. And we just found that it was so much fun to be like kicking crates around, kicking enemies, even stuff like kick against the ground to jump higher. It kind of made us think, what more can we do with this kind of open-ended exploration? And that's where we came in with stuff like you being able to use spells and weapons, etc. for movement. And now it's kind of a core facet of how we design basically anything the player can use.
Yeah, it's actually funny because it married really well with our desire for a really open-ended game, because you have lots of ways to go, you get lots of goodies along the way, you really make your own path. And with the tools you find, you can reach areas that you maybe aren't supposed to reach yet by doing a clever combination of spells and weapon use that really envelops the feeling of exploration and freedom that you get from immersive sim mechanics.
And we've seen that you guys have been quite open to people breaking the game, especially when it comes to speedrunning and stuff. Any features that have come from players breaking the game from the demo, or game-breaking things that you guys have done that you said, oh, this actually works as a cool feature instead?
It's a very good question, actually. It really goes around with our philosophy when we started making the game, with all these we talked about these immersive sim elements and stuff like that. Basically, we make the game expecting not even just speedrunners, but even regular players to after some time getting familiar with the gameplay, really finding ways to if I kick this box and I freeze it in the air, I can make a platform. I feel like the feeling as a player of discovering ways to quote unquote break the game feels really good in and of itself, and so we really lean into that for the players to feel like accomplished something by themselves by thinking and doing dynamic problem solving.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing, even considering the level design philosophy, right, Hugh? Because there's this whole thing where we have multiple levels of difficulty in getting somewhere, right? And we have basically one main path that if you were to follow the path of least resistance, you would be kind of guided down a somewhat linear path through the game, right? The moment you are interested in something, you see something shiny, you want to get some place that seems cool, there's so many ways for you to kind of just extend your kit in a direction that lets you get there early, and then you feel like you've kind of gone into another direction completely, and that's why we're almost what you could call open world, in a sense that you can get kind of anywhere at any time.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about the secrets that you have sort of scattered around the world, and how they're all, as you mentioned, Hugo, everything's sort of densely packed, so there's always something really interesting to pick up as you go through. Could you tell me about the difference between maybe secrets that are harder to find and maybe not as many players might see them, or do you like to reserve some things for those that have really explored everywhere?
So about that, we really have layers, like Samuel said earlier. We have layers of difficulty. We have the direct path that we think people are going to take that doesn't almost don't require any specific items that enhances your movement. And then there's little off the beaten path things, you could see in the demo. There's a bunch of soul essences you can find, pick up and gain nectar through them, that are kind of easy to find and kind of really numerous. So we try to tier our rewards based on how difficult they are to find or to get. We've been working on really more hidden secrets that you might find in the final game that will really challenge your exploration skills, and that could have interesting rewards attached to them.
Yeah, that's good. Nice.
And when it comes to these secrets, I know you said you had tiers of people finding them. How would you approach balancing that? Do you try and make sure that each one of the weapons, each one of these spells, each one of these consumables will all be viable? Or are you all good with having a gun that's super OP? What's your stance on that?
Our design philosophy is to make everything as cool as possible, have everything feel good to use, everything feels like it's useful. So to begin with, we really don't want to have something that's gets overshadowed later on, or something that feels kind of lame and makes you disappointed. So that's why every weapon you will find in Hark The Ghoul have a different move set, and there's this is a copper sword and this is a golden sword, because we think that's pretty lame. If I was playing and I would stumble into that, I would be I wish it would be something cooler instead.
And in terms of balancing, the interesting thing is, since we're trying to do different types of abilities for different types of weapons, right? Even in the demo, you can see that, for instance, the whip can grab some stuff from far away and bring it near, and in comparison, the lantern can illuminate dark areas. Our philosophy is more so that every single item is useful, and it's useful in specific situations, so that if you're playing through the game, you're kind of often oh wait, in this place I could use this thing that would let me kind of meet this challenge, right?
As we come to a close here, first, I appreciate your time chatting to us today, and I'm sure that people are going to really like sort of the insight into the world and other little bits and pieces. Are there any final things, any thoughts as we continue going forward? Obviously, we've got the demo available. Is there anything you'd like to say to the players that have played already, or maybe potentially players who haven't played yet?
Yeah, we know there's a lot of people are dearly waiting for this game at this point. We've heard and seen tons of them. We know for some of you it's a bit tough to wait, but I assure them that every second we pour into this game is making it like a better and cooler experience. And at this point, we're having so much fun making the game. So please kindly wait for us while we finish this game and make it as good as it can be.
I kind of want to echo what Samuel said. Just I really hope you guys will enjoy what we are making right now. It's definitely difficult to make everything as good as we want to be to really be able to see the vision and really have that amazing adventure that we want you guys to go on. There's a lot of work on the details of stuff that takes a lot of effort, and we are really motivated for you guys to see all the polish we're trying to put in.
I'm really excited for when the game releases and we get to see people playing it, and with the nature of the game, we're gonna see so many different paths and ways to traverse and discover the world that even us didn't come across while playing. So it's worth the wait, is what I'm saying.
Nice.
Yeah, even for us, it's worth the wait and the work.
That's a really nice way to finish it. Worth the wait. That's the tagline. So thank you again for coming by and chatting with us, and thank you all for watching too. This was Deep Denizens, the creators of Hark The Ghoul. You can play the demo right now on Steam. The reviews speak for themselves. It's a wonderful adventure through this interconnected, exploratory, combat-orientated, bug-loving world that they've created. So we'll be excited to see that, and on Discord and all the other community places. Until next time, from me, Jay, and Deep Denizens, goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.